Shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Want to do a lesson real quick before we go out to the highways and byways. So here with the brothers of the hopeful elect, I'm Azrael.
Brother Denal.
Brother Yeshaya.
Right, this lesson is going to be titled "Judgment is Acceptable." Right, because a lot of times people run away from judgment. Right, we'll be teaching people and they'll be like, well, you can't judge me. They feel like our correction is judgment. Right, and a lot of brothers try to make up, get witty with their words, and a lot of brothers try to weasel around the fact that it is judgment that we're giving. Right, yes, correction is reproof. Yes, we're condemning. Well, we don't really have the power to condemn and put somebody in the lake of fire or in the kingdom of heaven, but judgment is what we're called to do, and judgment is what we're doing. Right, when we're correcting these brothers and reproving sisters, right, we're giving them judgment. Right, they'll say only God can judge me, and we always go down that rabbit hole of what you don't want God to judge you, right? But what we're doing is acceptable according to the Most High God, and that's judgment. We know Isaiah 58:1. It's a staple. You come into this truth, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, right? Show my people their sins. Paraphrasing, right? We gotta show people where they're going off. If we don't, they're gonna continue in sin, right? Let me take this out so just in case anybody gets in the comment section, we can see it. But anyway, want to give all glory, honor, and praise to the Most High God by the way of his Son, who's an instrument of salvation for the nation of Israel. That brought us to another Sabbath day for all those that keep the Sabbath day today. But for all those that keep the Sabbath in general, shalom, peace be unto you. Also want to say shalom to everybody that's going to tune in or watch this video. You could be doing anything, but you're fellowshipping, right? You're spiritually gathering, right? You know what I'm saying? Shout out to the brother. Brothers, he's here in spirit, right? But you're spiritually getting edified. You could be anywhere right now, but you're taking time out of your day to try to learn some scriptures, try to dive into the spirit with your brothers at the hopeful elect. So we say peace be unto you. We also say shalom to the cleavers out there, right? We know that it's prophesied it's going to be cleavers, to take the skirt of him that's a Jew, right? And say, bring me to your God, for we know he is with you. We know there's going to be cleavers out there. All right. So shalom to those that know their place and recognize our God to be the God above gods. All right. But getting into this, we're going to start at Proverbs 31. Right. A lot of people, when you read Proverbs 31, you go straight to the cuts for the women. Right. A lot of people, you read Proverbs 31, you don't start at the top. You start at verse what is it? 12, 10. 15, 10. Right. You start at verse 10. We're going to read, that's through the spirit. We're going to read 1 through 9, right? To start this out, we're going to learn a little today about judgment and how the Most High God views it and how our people in the past, right, in the days of old, viewed judgment, right? Let's go ahead and get started.
This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 31, verse number 1.
Right.
The words of King Lemuel, the prophecy that his mother taught him.
Right. So a lot of people don't know that Proverbs was written, really, the wisdom from a mom. A lot of us, we get into it with our mom. A lot of us, we don't think our mom has wisdom. A lot of us, we argue and complain about our moms. Yes, they can get on your nerves sometimes, right? But moms have wisdom. When you read about Proverbs 31 women, right, that's a mom talking to her son on how to get a wife and what you should look for, right? But let's keep reading.
Verse 2, what, my son, and what the son of my womb, and what the son of my vows. Verse 3, give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroy.
Salakia. My bad. Shalom to the sister. Start at verse 2.
Verse number 2, what, my son, and what the son of my womb, and what the son of my vows. Give not thy strength unto women, nor thy ways to that which destroyeth kings.
Right. So a lot of brothers go to this too, right? A lot of brothers go to this verse and they say, what? Don't give your strength to women. And they'll make a whole lesson on that, right? But let's read the next verse.
Verse number 4. It is not for kings, O Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes strong drink.
Right. A lot of brothers don't go into that though. right? A lot of brothers in the truth, you find out that our forefathers drink wine, and damn America and its laws, right? Forget about the age of drinking. I can drink because my forefathers drink. And I'm not saying there's nothing against that, right? I speak as a man, but when we read the wisdom of don't give your strength unto women, right? You also got to read the wisdom that she gave to her son that's a king, Lemuel, right? Lemuel, whatever you might call it. She's giving wisdom to the king. Hey, look, don't be drunk all the time. Don't even give into wine. She's pretty much saying, hey, look, be a Nazarite. Don't give into it. Why? Don't give into it because it alters your judgment. It will cause you to do things that may become a stumbling block unto you. It might cause you to do things that you might regret. Go ahead.
And if I may just add, right? It says it's referring to, or these are words from a mother to King Lemuel. A lot of people, if you do your history, use some research, they say King Lemuel was actually King Solomon, right? And we see how Solomon went off and he didn't listen to the words of his mother, right? And again, another thing, the brother Yeshaya had a mighty lesson throughout the week. Was that on Wednesday? Where he was talking about the woman, right? This is not a misogynistic thing. The woman has some duties. It's the woman's job to take care of the children and also teach them in the ways that they should go, right? And so she was doing her part and telling her son, hey, look, don't give into the ways of women. Let's say Lemuel was emphatically Solomon, right? And he did not listen to his mom, and that was his downfall, right? Because he was giving into much women, right? Not only that, you have to understand another key principle, right? This is for kings. A lot of us walk around, we call ourselves kings and priests and whatnot. And like the brother's saying, there's nothing unlawful about drinking, right? But if you're going to be a king, there's a standard that comes with a king. Not everybody can just be a king, right? Not everybody can just be a king. And so a righteous king is not giving into much women. He's not giving it into strong drink and wine. Why? Because he always has to be sober. He always has to be circumspect. He always has to know what's going on. He got to be able to counsel. He has to be able to give judgment, right? He has to be able to be sober-minded and vigilant at all times. A lot of y'all might not be kings.
Teach up,
right? A lot of y'all might not be kings, right? A lot of y'all is just regular brothers in the truth, right? And what did the I forgot what book that was in, where it says, he that be scared, let him stay home, right?
It's a law.
Some of us are weak-minded. Some of us are weak spiritually, right?
And that law goes back to that story in Second Samuel or First Samuel chapter 30, right? Where David and Ziklag was under attack. Second Samuel chapter 30, and Ziklag was under attack. And a lot of men they couldn't stomach going to war, so David told them to stay home.
Right.
That's in the law.
A lot of people can't.
David knew his law because he was a king. And in Deuteronomy 17, it says that you have to read in the law every day of your life. So he said, look, you're not ready to fight, don't come. Because guess what? That spirit of fear is going to be contagious, right? David knew that.
Right. So one thing I just wanted to point out is that this passage was concerning what? Not only a Proverbs 31 woman, but kings as well. A lot of women walk around saying that they're Proverbs 31 women, they're virtuous women, right? Well, you got a standard to uphold in Proverbs chapter 31. A lot of men walk around saying that they're kings. Shalom, king. What's up, king? Right? We always carry these titles, but there comes certain standards that come with these titles. Are you a king or are you just a regular brother in this truth?
Slacking. And that was First Samuel, actually.
First Samuel.
Yeah, but I was going to say the same thing, just like to piggyback. It's just when you understand certain things in the scriptures, right? You got to understand that as a just man, you got to be able to accept and teach all points of what the scriptures say. You can't go into the doctrines that only benefit your role as a man, your duty and responsibility as a man, and putting the woman in her place. You got to think that there's reasons why there's laws meant for kings as such, is because, like the brothers are saying, and as the scriptures will say further on in this same chapter, hey, look, you don't want to alter your judgment. You don't want to alter your ability to be able to teach the word of the Most High in a just way, in the correct understanding.
So like the brother said, right? So eloquently, this wisdom is also judgment. So we're reading this wisdom, and if you don't apply this to your life, and like the brother said, if you're calling yourself a king, I have to call you out on that. I'm gonna be like, brother, and if I don't do it, and we all fall guilty of turning a blind eye. If I don't do it, That's a sin on me as well. But if you calling yourself a king and you want to be upheld as a king, I have to tell you, thus saith the Lord. I have to give you this wisdom, right? But moving forward, did you have something to say?
I was just gonna say, just to touch on it. Why is it not smart to get into these things? Of course, we know about the wine and strong drink and having a sober mind, but even if you're giving it to too much women, that's too much distraction, right? Too much responsibility of you that you have to take care. You gotta, first of all, you gotta make sure your house in order. If you have 30 wives, right? Not even saying that that's unlawful, but if you have 30 wives, that's 30 houses that you gotta get in order before you can actually step into your role as a king to get your nation or whoever you're king of involved, right? And just to make that point, just to fathom, right? Think about people that have king-like roles, right? The president, the principal, right? The president of a school, right?
The CEO of your job.
CEO of the job. You're not gonna find these people in places of the common folk. You're not gonna find them in the strip club. You're not gonna find them, doing the things that commoners do. Is it unlawful for them to do it? No, but is it smart for them to do it? Not at all, right? And so just like they got standards of them, right? We have standards of us when we start calling ourselves kings and virtuous women, right?
And this, hey, look, just because we're pointing this out doesn't mean throw out Proverbs 31. That woman don't know what she's talking about, right? This goes back to even First Esdras, right? When you read First Esdras in the beginning chapters, or is it Second Esdras? The beginning chapters, right? It talks about which three things have more power, right? And he had three different people come minister to him. One was wine, one was women, and one was a king, right? But above all, you know what I'm saying? That truth and that righteousness is going to prevail if you let it take hold of your life, right? But if you let women take over you, it's going to have much power over you. You let wine take over you, it's going to have much power over you. And you being a king, right? You already have power. So if you let those two things influence you, it's over with. Sayonara. But moving on, let's go to the next verse.
Proverbs chapter 31 and verse 5. Lest they drink and forget the law and pervert the judgment of any of the afflicted.
You can't forget the law, man. You can't have no excuse to forget the law. So, hey, look, this mother right here had mighty wisdom.
She said, if you drink, you might forget the law, right? Because your mind started going into folly, man.
Right. You might end up doing adultery. You might end up giving a brother wrong counsel, telling him to leave his wife or something. You might end up eating something that's an abomination.
Right. So, hey, look, some men can handle strong drinking wine, right? We read the other day, just last Thursday. Think about it, Thursday. We were talking about Boaz, right? He got drunk and married, and he was still able to move decent in order, right? And keep the law, right? He was able to come back to his mind and say, I could lay with you right now and make you my wife, you know what I'm saying? But I know there's a way that we're supposed to be doing this, right? Some people can do that, but it's not for everybody. Trust me. And that's why she's giving this advice. Because 9 times out of 10, when you get that liquor in your system, right? You know what I'm saying? You start to make judgment calls that aren't proper judgment, right? And I just want to make one quick point before we move on, right? Think about if a king, you as a king, right? Us as brothers, if we stick to this standard of a king and our women stuck to this standard of being virtuous women. You brought up Esdras, right? It says, what's stronger, a king or a woman, right?
Or wine.
Or wine, right? Say if you just take 2 of those things, right? You make yourself a king and you make your wife a Proverbs 31 woman. Think about how strong your household would be, right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And I always like to tell people, man, this truth is really, when you come into this truth, it's about restraint. It's about chastisement. You gotta, yes, the Most High is gonna chastise you, but you gotta learn how to chastise yourself. Right. And before you can usher out judgment, you have to be able to chastise yourself, right? And that's what this is going into, restraint. Right?
It says all things are lawful for me, but not all things are expedient.
Right. Judgment is acceptable to the Most High God. We're gonna get to that precept, but let's keep reading this real quick.
Verse number 6. Give strong drink unto him that is ready to perish, and wine unto those that be of heavy heart.
Right. It has its place. Keep going.
Verse 7. Let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. Open thy mouth for the dumb in the cause of all such are as appointed to destruction.
Read that verse one more time.
Verse number 8. Open thy mouth for the dumb in the cause of all such as are appointed to destruction.
Right. So this is going into what? Pleading the case of those that can't speak. You're a king. You have to be able to have the mind of a peasant. You have to be able to have the mind of an officer, a commander, a soldier. You have to be able to speak up for people that don't have a voice. You can't just be speaking your own thoughts all the time. You have to put yourself in a lowly state. How are the commoners feeling right now? Right? I'm watching these old medieval time videos of different kingdoms like Wessex and different kingdoms like Aylesbury and Mercia and Wales, and seeing how these kings operated in those times, right? They had to think. The bad kings, their people always rose up against them and something bad happened. But the good kings, they were able to keep peace among their land, amongst their soldiers, the commoners, peasants, and the high-ranking officers. You know why? Because they were able to speak up for other people. They knew how other people were feeling. They were practical, right? Keep going.
Verse number 9. Open thy mouth, judge righteously.
Right? Open thy mouth and what?
Judge righteously.
Right?
And plead the cause of the poor and needy.
Right? And plead the cause. So guess what? You have to have these things. That was verse 9, right?
Right.
You have to have these things, right, in order to give righteous judgment. And that's why I wanted to start right there in Proverbs 31, because before we go into this, you have to know how to give righteous judgment. You have to know who to give righteous judgment for and who needs somebody to speak up for them. And guess what? When we're lost sheep, a lot of people need that guidance and direction. They need somebody to speak up for them. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I can pull out a precept real quick.
I
want to go to 1 Samuel 16 real quick.
Bring it out.
1 Samuel chapter 16, and I'm going to start at verse number 7. 1 Samuel 16 and 7. And it reads, it says, but the Lord said unto Samuel, look not on his countenance or Salakia, look not on his countenance or on the height of his stature, because I have refused him. For the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. The reason that I'm reading this is because, like you said in Proverbs 31 and 9, hey, we have to judge righteously, right? And when you're giving into strong drink, when you're giving into folly, right, and you can't control yourself, you pervert the judgment of the Lord. Now you begin to realize that you cause people to not accept the judgment of the Lord. Now you're looking at the wrong things and you're giving unwise counsel that's not sound and meat, right? So the whole lesson is about judgment being acceptable. You can't teach acceptable judgment if first and foremost you're not giving wise judgment.
Wake them up. Hey, look, that's spot on. So that's a mighty precept to go into that. You know, the good thing about having brothers in the truth and having sisters in the truth, they might go into precepts a different way than you, and they might bring out something that you didn't see in that precept. So that was a mighty precept, right? You could bring out Leviticus 19:15. This is the next one right there.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse number 15. Ye shall do no unrighteous in judgment.
Right? Say that one more time.
Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment.
Right? So just like the brother said, you have to know how to be righteous first, so you don't have no unrighteousness in your judgment. We're allowed to give judgment. We're allowed to judge the people, but it should be no unrighteousness. This is in the law now, right? It wouldn't be saying this if we weren't allowed to judge. So keep reading.
Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of the mighty.
Right? It doesn't matter if he Kanye West, and it don't matter if it's Tyrone James. You don't know Tyrone James. You know why? Because he's a person of low stature. But you know Kanye West, right? But if both of them men were to come into the room, right, you got to treat them accordingly. You can't give favor to one and no favor to the other. And likewise, you can't give favor to somebody just because he's poor. You can't give favor to somebody just because he's lowly, and you can connect with them on that level, right? Everything must be done decent and in order. Keep going.
But in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor.
Right? But in righteousness shall you judge your neighbor. And you have to know this law. You have to know this book. You have to know how God wants you to think and judge for you to judge your neighbor, right? Bring this out.
This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse number 2. Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world?
Right. Say that one more time.
Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world?
Right. And so guess what? We're the saints, right? We all know the precepts. We're the saints, right? The ones that's called by his name that made a covenant with him, right? We are the saints. So guess what? Don't you know that the saints are going to judge the earth? The reason why the earth is so chaotic right now is because the saints aren't judging the earth. We let it go. We say only God can judge. Hey, look, they ain't got nothing to do with me. Let them do them. Hey, you just do you. I'ma do me. Right? We have that type of spirit on us to where we will only worry about our lives, our own immediate lives, right? But if the brother going off over there, we can see him hurting. We could see, we could tell, oh, he must be that way because something happened in his life, but we don't want to speak up against it and correct it and get to the bottom of it because the saints aren't judging the earth right now, right? The earth has been given over to the hands of the wicked and they judge the earth. If it's in this Bible, nah, that's unlawful, right? Everything that's sweet is turned to bitter and everything that's bitter has turned to sweet, right? Keep going.
Time. And if the world shall be judged by you, are you unworthy to judge the smallest matters?
The smallest of matters we can judge. So yes, I can tell you what you're eating is going to send you to the lake of fire. Yes, I can tell you you need to be wearing your fringes. The smallest matters. Yes, I can tell you the Bible says to gather with saints, right? If you can gather together to go to the club, you can surely find some saints to gather with. Yes, in the smallest of matters. And even the biggest, the largest of matters when it comes to somebody's marriage, when it comes to somebody's what's a large matter nowadays? Financial means, right? With taking a job, even to the largest of matters, right? We have the right to judge. You know why? Right? We'll get into why, right? I was gonna go ahead and spoil a precept that I had written down, but we'll get into it, right? Bring this out real quick.
The book of Psalms, chapter 99 and verse number 4. The king's strength also loveth judgment. Thou doest.
Right. Say that from the top.
The king's strength also loveth judgment.
So if you're a king, I believe in this precept, though, in context, I believe the king that it's talking about is the Most High, right? But even us as kings, like we read in Proverbs 31, right? Read that from the top.
The king's strength also loveth judgment.
You gotta love judgment. You have to wake up loving judgment. You have to earn judgment. You have to look for correcting your people. So you know why? So that they won't go to the lake of fire. So that when it comes judgment day, you make the Most High's job that much easier. You have to crave judgment as a king. Keep going.
Con. Thou dost establish equity. Thou executest judgment and righteousness.
Thou what?
Thou executest judgment and righteousness in Jacob.
Right. In our nation, we execute judgment righteously. We have a whole book called Judges. We have women judges, man judges, little kids, right? When they take the throne, they're put in position to judge. Judgment is a part of our culture. Everybody wants to know what's our culture, trying to learn judgment. And this is going to keep us from falling off. It's going to keep us on that straight and narrow, right? Bring out what you had in verse 28.
Verse 28. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 37, starting at verse 28. And it reads, For the Lord loveth judgment and forsaketh not his saints.
What the Lord love?
For the Lord loveth judgment and forsaketh not his saints.
So judgment is not something scary. This is part of our culture. The Most High God is part of God's culture. He loveth judgment. Right? Read that one more time.
Psalms 37 and 28. For the Lord loveth judgment and forsaketh not his saints.
And he don't forsake us. Because guess what? He's a just judge. He know the promises he made to us. He knew the covenants that he made with us. And he's a just judge. He's going to make sure that he stays true to his word, right? Go ahead and bring that out. Psalms 98 and 9.
Psalms 98 and 9. Before the Lord, for he cometh to judge the earth. With righteousness shall he judge the world and the people with equity.
Right? With righteousness is God going to judge the earth. Right? So that's why we have to judge. We have to judge to get people ready for that righteous judge. Right? And we're supposed to be looking forward for him to come and judge the earth. A lot of us, we don't want to look forward to that day. A lot of us, we're scared of that day. But guess what? If we're like Paul and some of these disciples that were sick unto death, that died daily, that gave their life, right? You're not in that day of judgment. You're going to be happy that he's judging the earth because you've been persecuted. You've been lied on. You've been mistreated, misused, and abused, right? As it says in what? Second Chronicles, I believe 16 and 36, or is it 36 and 16?
It's one of them two.
One of those two, right? Yeah. Talking about being the misusing of the prophets, 16, right? You had a precept?
Let me see.
But the Most High God is coming to judge the earth. Hey, let it be known.
Nah, I thought it was in here, but it's not.
God. Can somebody give me Psalms? You got a precept?
It's 36:16.
36 and 16, Con. Can somebody get Psalms 72 and 4?
Con.
And then somebody get Isaiah 11 and 4.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 72, starting at verse number 4. And it reads, he shall judge the poor of the people.
Right. So if judgment was bad, why would he be going to judge the poor of his people? Why pick on them? Right? Keep reading.
He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy and shall break.
He shall what?
He shall save the children of the needy.
Right. So judgment is seen as something that's synonymous to salvation. Right. Keep going.
And shall break in pieces the oppressor.
He's going to break in pieces the oppressor when he's judging. Right. He has to look at, okay, what you guys did to Haiti, that's unacceptable. What you guys did, what the Portuguese did to the Israelites in West Africa, that's unacceptable. What they did over here in America in chattel slavery, right? That's unacceptable. He has to judge for the poor and judge the poor, right? That's synonymous with him coming to save us. For example, for you, if you're in a courtroom, right, and you have a defendant and you have somebody that's being accused, right? If the defendant says I was mistreated, I was abused, right? The judge has to judge the situation to see, okay, is this person worthy of getting the money that they're suing this person for, right? If we are accusing our oppressors of something evil, he has to judge us to see if we're worthy of that accusation. And then he's going to break our oppressor. Then he's going to break the bank open. Then we get that money once he judges the matter, right? He has to go into, well, what did you do? Well, everybody's watched Judge Judy and Joe Brown and all these judges, right? Get kind of crazy in there sometimes, but they have to judge the matter. So yes, each side, right? There's two sides to every story, like they say. So he has to judge the poor. He has to say, are you guys worthy of this payment? Are you guys worthy of what you're accusing this person of? Right? But judgment is synonymous with what? Salvation, right? Bring that out.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 11 and verse, it's like which verse?
Verse 4. You had a precept?
And verse number 4.
I was looking for it.
All right, come on.
But with righteousness shall he judge the poor.
Right? So here again, we see that with righteousness, he's going to judge the poor. And look, the poor is looking for judgment. We went over a few weeks ago about the people that's living in Haiti, and they said, look, it's in God's hands. They are at their last hope. It's in God's hands. They're looking for that judgment. Keep going.
And with equity for the meek of the earth.
Right.
And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth.
Right. Salvation. He's going to smite the earth. He's judging the poor, but that's really salvation. When he says judgment, it's really salvation. And you got to think of it like this. When we're judging our people, that's salvation. Right? When we see them doing wrong and we correct it so that they can do right, we have saved a soul. Right? Through the spirit and power of the Most High God. Right? But that's salvation. Judgment is synonymous with salvation. It's not nothing bad. A lot of our people see it as something bad. We see it as something that's hurtful. We feel like we're being tried. But the object, the bottom line is we all go off and we need somebody to correct us. If we don't have people to help correct us, then we'll have no salvation. Right? Was that in on that one?
Just a little bit more. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked.
Con, you had your precept?
Well, I had one. I got one too, but
yeah, you can put your precept out.
Okay, Con. I wanted to read this real quick too. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 21, and verse number 3. It says, "To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice." Right? It's better, like the Most High says in I want to say that's 1 Samuel. To obey is better than to sacrifice. Hey, judgment is better. It's better in the eyes of the Most High than sacrifice. It's better to receive a sharp rebuke from a brother than to continue in your ways. Now all of a sudden, now you got to sacrifice because you didn't want to repent and turn from your wicked ways, right? That's why judgment is so acceptable, because see, we run from it because we love to have the desires of our heart without facing the punishments of it, especially when it goes against the word of the Most High. This ain't Burger King. We can't have it our way. The Most High is not dealing with that. He's dealing with order and structure. So we have to continue to accept judgment, and we have to continue to understand the importance of why judgment is here in the first place to correct us. But go ahead.
That correction is salvation. We know that thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Why does it comfort you? Because it keeps you from doing wrong. Yeah, that rod might hurt. Yeah, it might hurt the sheep. But guess what? They didn't get eaten by a lion, right? It's a comfort. That law is comfort, salvation, right? What was it?
This is the book of Psalm, chapter 103, and verse number 6. And it reads, the Lord executed righteousness and judgment for all that are oppressed.
Right. Now, you would think that he's doing something good for those that are oppressed. So when he says he executed judgment for those that are oppressed, you know, judgment is a good thing. We have to rethink how we think about judgment. It's a good thing. We're oppressed, are we not? Are we not seeking judgment? Are we not seeking a righteous judge to judge the matter of oppression that we're in? Right? Bring this out real quick.
The book of Psalms, chapter 106 and verse number 3, right? Blessed are they that keep the judgment, and he that doeth righteousness at all times.
You know why it's saying blessed they that keep the judgments? Because our people didn't keep the judgments. We used to be over and over and over and over again when you read this Bible, people did not keep the judgments. And because they didn't keep the judgments, right? We're at where we're at today. Right, in the hands of another nation, right? But blessed are they that keep the judgment, right? That give order, that give correction when it's needed, right? That judge their own houses first so that they can get that beam out of their eye so they can judge another, right? Blessed are they that keep the judgments, right? You had a precept?
Yeah, Khan. I want to see if this is the one in
this is the next one.
But this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 3 and verse 11. And it reads, it says, my son, despise not the chastening of the Lord, neither be weary of his correction. Verse 12, for whom the Lord loveth, he corrected, even as a father, the son in whom he delighteth, right? Hey, look, we got to understand. Remember verse 13 real quick too. It says, happy is the man that findeth wisdom and the man that getteth understanding, right? The reason I read those three, and the brother Dunal likes to read this all the time, simply because we have to understand, if we don't dish out the judgment of the Most High, we don't love our people. I can't love you and not correct you. That's why judgment is so acceptable and it's so pleasant, and we need to learn how to receive it better. Because if I knew that somebody was walking down the street, shooting people in the head, and I see you walking in that same direction where these shots are being fired at, if I don't tell you, hey, don't go that way, there's trouble over there, do I really love you? Do I really want to see the best for you if I'm sitting up here continuing to let you go down a path where I know that you can end up being hurt or even worse, killed? That's not right. So we as people have to learn how to be better judges, be more righteous judges, especially the men in our community. We have to learn how to be more judges in a lot better ways than we do, right? But just to finish the point, what I'm saying is that judgment is love, right? Like we're going into, like you said, judgment is salvation. We save people by judging, right, the words of the Most High. So are you?
If I may add as well, right? Not only do we have to be better judges, we got to be better. We got to be better at taking correction, right? We got to want that correction. We got to want to fiend for that correction, right? Just to put it in perspective, right? For all my sports people, if I'm a Hall of Famer as a point guard, right? I done retired. I did my stuff. I got my own basketball team now, right? My point guard, right? I see that he's doing some things that could be detrimental. If I know of something that I can correct to make him the best point guard that he can be, right? If I don't say it, I don't love my point guard. I don't want the best for him, right? But if I do, if I pull him to the sides, hey, come over here. I know you be going to the left when you do that, but if you go to the right, it'll be there. If I tell him that, right? I love him because I want him to be the best he can. But what happens in sports a lot, right? A lot of players can't take correction. So a lot of coaches end up keeping their knowledge to themselves, right? Making that player bad and making the organization bad. It's the same thing in this truth, right? If you can't receive correction from anybody, right? Think about how bad how worse it's making you day after day after day. Because not only will you being a reproach to yourself, not being able to take correction, the people that want to help you out, that want you to succeed, they're gonna start holding their tongue.
That's a mighty metaphor too, just because, you know, a lot of times brothers and sisters, they get tired of preaching the truth on their social medias or going out on the highways and byways because they know a lot of our people don't want to listen. And so that makes a lot of us not judge, right? But as we're reading, blessed are they that keep the judgments. You have to judge whether they want to hear or forbear. I like, I'll let you go in a second. I like the brother precept that he pulled, giving correction, right? The Most High God gives us correction. We got to give our brothers and sisters correction. When we think about correction, right? You go before a judge, he judges the matter, and he puts you in a correction facility, right? Judgment and correction are synonymous as well. That judgment and correction are trying to save your life. Now we know what the prison system is today, right? But what a prison system was supposed to do was keep you on the straight and narrow. It was supposed to judge you so that you would be saved from endangering your life or somebody else's life, right? So once again, judgment, correction, they're all synonymous with salvation, right? Keep going.
Okay, so I want to bring out a precept real quick. This is the book of Ephesians, chapter 6. I'm going to read 19 and 20. And it says, and for me, that utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in bonds, that therein I may speak boldly as I ought to speak, right? So I read that because just like the brother said, I brought out earlier that we need to learn how to be better judges, and we also need to learn how to be able to take correction better. But also, like we read at the beginning, hey, if you're scared, just stay home, right? We need to learn how to be able to not be scared to give people that judgment and correction that they need. A lot of people just see it and they just kind of turn a blind eye to it because they may not know how to, approach this person. They may take it the wrong way because I'm not trying to, you got to understand, you have to speak boldly as you ought to speak and not be scared to correct somebody when they're going wrong. It doesn't matter who it is. These brothers correct me when they think I'm going off. We all correct each other when we think we're going off. There's no respect of person. And we can't move like that. That's why earlier the brother was saying, hey, look, if you see Kanye West walk in the house and you see, an average person walk in the house, you got to treat people the same. Right.
What's the brother's, one of the brother's favorite scriptures, right? He got it in the world. He got it tatted on him, right? Is grow not weary and well doing, right? Giving people correction is growing not weary and well doing, no matter what. And one thing I like at THE, man, and I believe everybody that comes around us will find it out. If you hung out with us, we're not afraid to, call a spade, give our point of view.
Yeah, we'll make you think now.
We'll make you think, right? We'll challenge what you have to say, right, and righteousness, right? And it's this kind of the when you're at your job, you talk about a company culture. It's one thing that we've done to where, don't take it personal. If we say something, trust me, bro, it's not out of malice or anything. It's sincerely trying to get to the bottom of something, to better one of us or all of us, right? And so that being said, man, I know I gave an analogy for the men, but for women, right? It's harder for women to take correction, right? Because they're dealing on a more emotional level. You can't be afraid to, she's gonna give me pushback, so I'm just gonna hold my tongue. Right? You can't be afraid to do that. Just an analogy, right? Say a sister doesn't know how to cook and a sister does know how to cook, right? Every time this sister cook, nobody want to eat her food. But you can't say nothing to her because she might blow up on you, right? So the sister, that can cook it up, she can chef it up, right? She don't want to say nothing because she gonna blow up in my face, right? Now, if the sister says something, she just wants you to be the best cook that you can be, right? She wants people to enjoy your food, so you're not a reproach when you bring your dish to the potluck, right? She wants she wants your family and your husband to be happy, right? I'm just trying to give you some pointers on how to chef it up, right? And it's all about taking that correction and wanting correction for yourself to be able to grow.
Right. And I like these points that the brothers just brought out. And like they said, we correct each other all the time, right? There's moments where I try to read every day, and there's moments where I think I just read something deep, and I test the waters. I mean, like, I'm gonna hit the brothers with this in the truck on the way to camp, and brothers on my back. What you talking about with so and so? What about this piece of this so and so? And I'm just I'll be driving or in the passenger seat like rethinking like, yeah, I am going off, but you have to accept that correction. And I love conversations like that because it always teaches brothers something. You know what I'm saying? There's something that can always be edified through correction, right? And that's ultimately salvation, right? Read what you got, 1 Corinthians 2:15. You can give me Job 6:30.
But he that is spiritual judges all things.
He that is spiritual, right? Because the law is spiritual, you judge everything. Now, the brother on the corner that's carnal, he can't judge nothing. He don't know nothing. How can you judge if you don't know what's right and what's wrong? The judges set up in this wicked system, they don't know nothing. They really shouldn't be judging, right? The person that's not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments, they shouldn't be judging. But if you're spiritual, you know that the law is spiritual and you know the law, guess what? You can judge everything. We like the precept we read earlier, the smallest of matters, right? The smallest of matters. You can judge it, right? Keep going.
He himself is judged of no man.
You're not judged of a man when you, for example, when you were a king and anointed to be a king, right? When it says you had to be studied in the law, you have to read the law every day. You have to be sober, right? At that point, nobody can judge you because you're supposed to be the top tier. It was not a light thing to be a king. No man's judging the king. He's the one judging, right? A king's judgment is death, right? He might die in battle. Most High God might cause him to get sick like Hezekiah, right? But no man is judging the king, right? And so that's what it's going to, right? If you're spiritual, if you're built up in the spirit, if you know what you're talking about, if you live in the way you're supposed to live, you're going to judge everything, right? People might get sick because am I your enemy for telling you the truth, right? But you're judged of no man because you're judging yourself, right? Bring this out.
And right. And so like before I read, that's why it's important that even with going into accepting the judgment, the point you just made, it's important to reflect back to the lesson Brother Denal just did on Thursday, having that integrity, right? If you're going to be a judge, you got to have that integrity. If you're going to be a king, you're going to have a lot of discipline. You know what I'm saying? And that in itself is integrity within itself, because why? Like you said, there is nobody looking at the king, making sure the king's straight. The king is overseeing the people, right? The king can go atone for his sins, as it mentions in Leviticus, but there's nobody looking over the king. So if we call ourselves kings, priests, you know, we got to be virtuous women, this, that, and the third. We got to understand that there's going to be a lot of integrity that's going to have to be, you know, within us to be able to overcome things, to be able to give out the acceptable judgment. But this is Job 6:30. It says, is there iniquity in my tongue?
Right. So this is going into he that is spiritual, right? Is there iniquity in my tongue? Do I speak things that are against the law? Keep going.
Cannot my taste discern perverse things?
Cannot my tongue, right? This is spiritual now. Cannot my tongue discern? Can I not taste what's wrong and what's right? Right? As a spiritual person, you have to be able to discern what's right and what's wrong. What's a law? What's a sin and what's righteous? What's right and right standing with the Most High God? You have to be able to discern those things, and that's what makes you spiritual. And that's the characteristic that allows you to judge, right? Keep going. Read Proverbs, what I say?
The book of Proverbs, chapter 10 and verse 32. The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable.
Right. So now we're going into those that are judging now, right? You got to be spiritual. You have to have discernment, and read that from the top.
The lips of the righteous know what is acceptable.
Right. Your lips, you have to know what's acceptable. Keep going.
But the mouth of the wicked speaketh forwardness.
Right. The mouth of the wicked speak forwardness. Wow.
Forwardness.
Right. When you're speaking forward, right? FROWARD, right? When you're speaking forward, that means you're in opposition or against. You're against the law, right? But if you're acceptable, right? If you're judging acceptable, guess what? You're going to be righteous and you're going to know what's acceptable because you are yourself acceptable, right?
This is Proverbs chapter 21 and verse 3. It says, to do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice.
There go our title, right? Read that from the top.
Proverbs 21 and 3. To do justice and judgment is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice.
Right. So it don't matter how many holy days you participate in. It don't matter how much charity you gave, right? It don't matter what sacrifices you made for the nation, right? How many hours you stood outside at camp. It don't matter what's acceptable.
To do justice and judgment,
right,
is more acceptable to the Lord than sacrifice.
Judgment is acceptable to God, man. That's part of our culture, right? If somebody could get the precept that the elder put on here, John 7:24, read that real quick.
The book of John, chapter 7 and verse 24. Judge not according to appearance, but judge righteous judgment.
And that goes back to the law, which we read earlier, right? Keep going.
Verse 16,
verse 25. That was it on that.
Salakia, right? But don't judge according to the appearance. Just because a brother got fringes on don't mean that he keeping the law. And just because a brother I know, hey, look, a lot of people don't want to hear this. Just because a brother don't have fringes don't mean that he's not trying to be righteous. There's brothers, hey, look, we go to the gym. There's brothers in the gym that don't wear fringes, but guess what? They have a passion for the Most High God. Brother, y'all keep the Sabbath day? Hey, man, get my number, man. I'm trying to get around some brothers to keep the Sabbath. Just because they don't have, a lot of brothers see somebody say shalom or something and they don't got fringes on, and automatically you judging off of appearance.
Right. Hey, we got to go back to the old days when you first came into this thing and you didn't have a rib and you only had one shirt with fringes on. Right.
You got to be practical.
You know what I'm saying? Some people don't know how to put fringes on shirts. Right. Some people don't have a rib or a wife to do it for.
Right. And now we know a lot of brothers out there. If you didn't have your wife, it would be a hard thing for you to keep fringes on.
It would,
right?
It would. I remember when we first came in the truth, bro. I had 3 shirts with fringes, man. And if I wasn't wearing those 3 shirts with fringes, was I wearing fringes? I was not.
Right.
Thanks through the power and the spirit of the Most High God, He gave me a rib, and I can have. Well, I can't even count how many shirts I have with fringes.
All praises to the Most High. But guess what though? Like we read earlier, a king, he's gonna always be in judgment, right? And he's going to have a mind it said, speak for the dumb, not meaning you're stupid, but dumb, meaning you can't speak. There's certain people that aren't as high as a king in a kingdom, and they don't have no voice, right? We're always looking for somebody to stand up for us and be a voice for us, right? That means we're dumb. We can't speak, and nobody's going to hear us. You know why? Because like Sirach says, they'll listen to a rich man, but a poor man, they're going to walk right over him. But Salaki, I'll let you go in a second. But what I was going to say is you have to have a mind for the peasants. You have to have a mind for the common folk. You have to have a mind for the people in the markets. You have to have a mind for your soldiers. You have to have a mind for all of them being a king, right? Being of high stature. You have to be able to judge with the mind of these people. So guess what? Not all the time are brothers wicked or sisters wicked just because they don't have fringes on, right? You can correct them and say, brother, do you not know that we're supposed to wear fringes? And then guess what? Because you gave that judgment, salvation is near, edification is near, and now they can say, yes, brother, I just don't have nobody to make no fringes for me. Yes, brother, they can tell you whatever is going on, and guess what? Now you might be like, well, my rib can make you some shirts, or I know this person that has this website, or I know so-and-so that makes fringes, and then salvation comes, all because you judged righteously. Don't just look at a brother and say he wicked off of his appearance, or a sister off of their appearance, and don't say nothing to him, right? We have to be a nation. Go ahead.
Con, I just wanted to read this because it goes into, like we say, looking at somebody, they might not have on fringes, but don't know they're inward. They just looking at the outward. We're commanded not to do that, right? The Most High looks at the inward. But this is Galatians 2, and I'm going to start at verse 16, right? I'm not going to read all of it. I'm going to just read part of it because it goes into the point what I'm saying. Verse 16. Knowing that a man is not justified by the works of the law, but by the faith of, reading it as written, Jesus Christ, even we have believed in Jesus Christ that we might be justified by the faith of Christ and not by the works of the law, right? For by the works of the law shall no flesh be justified. Now, don't read too deep into what that's saying. Think about it like this, right? The prime reason that statement is made right there is because of the examples that the brother just gave, right? You might know somebody that wears fringes, but secretly they are not truly trying to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, right? Versus you might know somebody that doesn't wear fringes. You may see them in person, but at the same time, in secret, they are trying to seek the Most High, and they're just in the situation to where maybe they don't have fringes available to them yet, right? This is exactly why this is written, to understand that there are people who think that just because I have on fringes, just because I keep the Sabbath, just because I go to Passover and I go to the feast days and host the feast days, that makes you righteous. You know what I'm saying? Right. And don't get me wrong. That is an act of righteousness, but the righteousness comes from within, circumcising the foreskin of your heart. It's got to be in you, not on you. But go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? The Most High God blessed us with the members of our body. The Most High God blessed us with senses. But imagine if you didn't have eyes, right? How are you to judge if you don't have eyes, right? How are you to judge if you can't see? How are you to judge matters then, right? You have to be able to judge things spiritually and not carnally, right? But that wraps up the lesson I have for today. Shabbat Shalom. Do the brothers have anything?
I got a closing precept.
Do you have a closing precept? You don't have to have one, but
I got one.
Go ahead, read yours.
Khan, it's the book of Psalms chapter 19 and verse number 9. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. Here's the point. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteousness altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than the honey from the honeycomb, right? And I bring this out just to say it. Like we were saying, man, we have to desire that correction. We have to desire that judgment. It's supposed to be sweeter than the honey from a honeycomb, right? Why is it sweeter? Because, hey, look, when it enters you, you're gonna become a so much better person, especially if you're trying to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. It's gonna make you so much better. And what does Ecclesiastes 12 and 13 say, right? The whole duty of man is to fear God, is to keep his commandments, right? So the more that you keep these commandments, the more you receive correction to keep these laws, statutes, and commandments, the more you're gonna feel fulfilled, and the more you should feel fulfilled, right?
Does the elder mean Second Chronicles 19:4 and 6? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I think you're trying to say Second Chronicles.
If you can get that.
I'll just read that as a closing.
Yeah, okay.
I wanted to bring out the precept, but Second Chronicles 19
4 through 6.
And Jehoshaphat dwelt at Jerusalem and went out again through the people from Beersheba to Mount Ephraim and brought them back unto the Lord God of their fathers. And he set judges in the land throughout all the fenced cities of Judah, city by city, and said to the judges, take heed what ye do, for ye judge not for man, but for the Lord who is with you in the judgment.
That's mighty. Hey, look, we're not judging for ourselves. It's no enjoyment that I should get out of proving a brother wrong, out of showing somebody they're going off, right? We're not judging for ourselves. We're judging for the Most High God, right? We're his soldiers, right? We're his officers, right? We're not judging for ourselves, and we're not judging to get the satisfaction of saying that this camp is wicked, this congregation, this church is wicked, that brother is going off, that sister's going off. Yeah, we're the mighty ones. We don't do nothing. We got 100% truth. We're not judging for that. We're judging to make sure that you guys have salvation, right? Judgment, I should have titled this Judgment Equals Salvation, or Judgment is Salvation, but judgment is definitely acceptable.
Let me read verse 7 real quick. It says, wherefore now let the fear of the Lord be upon you. Take heed and do it, for there is no iniquity with the Lord our God, nor respect of person, nor taking of gifts, right? And like the brother said, we're not doing these things for the glory of ourselves, man. We're not glorifying ourselves. That goes back into the lesson I think we did the week before last about, 2 Corinthians 3. Do we need letters of commendation? We don't need to be proven that we know what we're talking about. By,
we don't need to be certified.
Right. We don't need to be certified by letters or, the correction that I give out. No, the way people live our lives serves as our certification. Why? Because we speak as the oracles of the Most High, right? We don't do this for ourselves. We don't correct for ourselves. We get no benefit from that.
Read that from the top, that one you just read.
2 Chronicles 19:7, it says, wherefore now let the fear of the Lord
Let
the fear of the Lord.
Right. The reason why we judge, the reason why I got to step out my comfort zone to tell you that you're going off, and I could just let you do you. But the reason why I got to step out of my comfort zone, the reason why we judge is because of the fear of the Most High God. And that's what has been lost, is the fear of the Most High God. Nobody fears the Most High. And therefore, you could care less what people do. You could care less that people are pissing him off. You could care less that people are taking his law as a suggestion. You could care less. But it says, let the fear of God be upon you. Let the fear of God be upon you and fearfully do his service, be his servant, right? Go ahead.
And I wanted to bring this out as well. The elder brought out John 7, and there was something else that I seen in John 7 that is going along with what the brothers are bringing out, right? This is John 7, starting at verse 19, right? Did not Moses give you the law, and yet none of you keepeth the law? Why go ye about to kill me? Right? This is Christ speaking, right? Talking about Moses and the law that he gave to govern us, to judge us, right? The law wasn't of Moses, right? Let's keep reading, right? It says, verse 22, Moses therefore gave unto you circumcision, not because it is of Moses, but of the Father, right? And so this just is saying, look, when we give you this judgment, when we give this correction, even when Moses said, hey, look, circumcise your kid on the 8th day, that wasn't because Moses wanted you to do it, right? The correction he's given, the instruction that he's given is of the Father. Why? Because these are the things that are required of you to make it into the kingdom.
Right. So you can't make the excuse of, but Moses didn't do it, but David did this, but so-and-so. Hey, it's not about them, it's about God. I'm not giving correction on behalf of David. I'm not giving correction on behalf of Moses. It's God's law. Right.
It's one standard, and the standard is of the Most High. It's not of any man.
But that we yield. I know this is a Sabbath lesson, so I want to just go ahead and give the precepts that I have written down for it, in case anybody gets to this part of the video and wants to jot them down in their Bible or a notebook. Proverbs 31, verses 1 through 9, Leviticus 19 and 15, 1 Corinthians 6 and 2, Psalms 99, 4 and 5, Psalms 37, 28, it's like it, Psalms 98 and 9, Psalm 72 and 4, Isaiah 11 and 4, Psalms 103 and 6, Psalms 106 and 3, 1 Corinthians 2:15, Job 6:30, Proverbs 10:32, Proverbs 21 and 3, right? So we went through a lot of precepts in about a little less than an hour, right? So we should know that judgment is acceptable to the Most High God. With that, we're the hopeful elect, about to go to the highways and byways. Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.